wasn't referring to when you began to quote the Joint Declaration. And once more, I'm simply asserting that sola fide can be interpreted in an orthodox manner. Of course, when we cannot hold, it would be heresy to hold that one is justified by faith alone and the intellectual assent of it. But we can definitely view it in an orthodox manner, as many of the early church fathers did. And I simply think that you're misinterpreting the Joint Declaration completely.
No, I'm not. Let me ask you this. How can this be interpreted in an orthodox manner? Quote, human beings are incapable of cooperating in their salvation. That's Joint Declaration number 21.
Let me look that up. And that is the Joint Declaration to the Lutherans?
Yeah. And the Council of Trent, by the way, says that if anyone shall say that man's free will moved and aroused by God does not cooperate by ascending to God who rouses and calls, on and on and on, let him be anathema. And so,
could you read that quote to me one more time so I can go ahead and find it and read it?
According to Lutheran teaching, human beings are incapable of cooperating in their salvation because as sinners they actively oppose God in his saving action. And so that's just blatantly heretical. It's insane that you can't cooperate in your salvation. It's directly condemned by the Council of Trent. And so the notion that it's not justifying Lutheran teaching, I mean, you just have to be a liar to say that.
Well, I would agree with you. It definitely can sound heretical, but I think you're taking it completely out of context. Human beings are unable to cooperate in human salvation without the grace of God. If one does have the grace of God, as it's adopted sola fide, they are able to cooperate with God. But of course, salvation comes from God and God alone. And I don't deny that we are unable to cooperate in human salvation if we lack the grace of God.
Yeah, we're not talking about that.
Okay, let me finish. In a certain sense, the Lutheran teaching would be correct, but it needs to be clarified. But then again, I simply don't find any logic in everything you're reading into. I really don't.
An honest person can.
Point at all.
Yeah, an honest person can see. And here's another point for you: that Pope Pius VI, in Auctorum Fidei, he condemned the idea that texts that are ambiguous, can be accepted as orthodox, even though they advance heresies and try to, obscure them. And so if you are confronted with things that tend to heretical meanings and that present heresies, but then they try to hide them in different ambiguous phraseology, you are to hold them to the heretical meaning. Now, this isn't even ambiguous. Any honest person can see this is blatant heresy, okay? But even if someone were to say that there could be some confusion, which there isn't, it would still have to be held as heretical. But here's the question which really cuts through it all. Are the Lutherans, heretical for refusing to accept the Council of Trent? That's my question.
Are you speaking of modern-day Lutherans, or are you speaking of the ancient Lutherans?
I'm speaking of either one. Either one. And Lutherans...
Well, there goes your complete misunderstanding. You're speaking of Lutheranism as a whole. So
Lutherans post the Council of Trent, who refuse to accept Trent. It's a very simple question. You asked for a clarification on my question. I'm giving it to you so that you can answer. Are Lutherans who refuse to accept the Council of Trent's teaching and say, I don't agree with that, I have my own views on justification, are they heretical or not?
Okay, I simply don't understand the question you're posing. Are you unaware of the fact that Lutheranism had various factions within their theology as well? I mean, you're coupling the Lutherans together as if every single Lutheran believes the same thing, and that's ridiculous. I think maybe you simply don't understand Lutheran teaching because you really aren't making any distinction.
What you're saying is completely irrelevant and ridiculous. Of course they're Protestants who, it doesn't matter. If they don't accept the Council of Trent, they're heretical, William. Okay, it doesn't matter.
You're saying that every single Lutheran denies the Council of Trent. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that every single Lutheran, yes, that's correct. And
you're incorrect. You're completely incorrect about that. I think maybe you needed a little bit of studying in Lutheran theology.
No.
You're wrong. Yes,
no.
You are.
Lutherans do not accept the Council of Trent. But even if what you were saying was true, that's beside the point, because I'm asking you a question about Lutherans who do not accept the Council of Trent. It's a simple question. Lutherans who do not accept it, are they heretical or not?
Okay. The certain Lutheran factions that do deny it, if they deny the teachings of the Council of Trent, absolutely they would be separated. Absolutely. They do not subscribe to the way of calling an individual a heretic in the same sense as if an individual understands the teachings of Trent and they understand them clearly and deny them, even knowing that they are the truth, then indeed they would be heretics. But again, you would not be able to prove it. And that is one of the reasons why I'm very careful in calling individuals heretics. according to the biblical term, which you clearly still don't understand.
No, I do understand.
To call them heretics. You don't understand the term. You weren't able to exegete it at all.
Yes, I was. Your arguments are absurd and ridiculous.
You want to go back to the biblical term? You want to examine it? We'll examine it statement by statement.
We've already discussed it, William. Okay,
yeah,
but
lost in the term. You have no idea what it's talking about.
No, you have no idea what the Catholic Church teaches because you admitted that a person who refuses to accept Catholic teaching is to be considered a heretic. Okay, and then you diverted on and on and on about how he must be admonished. Okay, anyone who can think proves.
I use the Bible. I use the Bible. I don't see how I diverted.
Yeah, we don't believe in sola scriptura as Catholics.
Oh, so you don't believe that the Scripture's the inerrant Word of God, then?
No, I didn't say that. Are you capable of hearing language? I said.
I'm not preaching sola scriptura, sir.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. I'm using the Bible.
Do you accept what Pope Leo XIII taught, that anyone who dissents from any point of the authoritative teaching of the magisterium is to be considered alien to the Church?
Once again, absolutely any individual that is aware of the teachings of the Church, that knows them fairly well and denies them, would be a heretic. I've covered that over and over.
Does Benedict XVI believe that does Benedict XVI believe that the leaders of the Orthodox who do not accept Vatican I, does he believe that they're heretics?
Does Benedict believe what?
That the Orthodox who do not accept Catholic teaching, the Eastern Schismatics, the, quote, Orthodox, who do not accept papal infallibility, they don't accept Vatican I, they don't accept the supreme jurisdiction of the Roman Pontiffs, okay? He believes that they're in the Church.
He believes that they hold elements and they have valid holy orders. He doesn't believe that they're part of the Catholic Church.
Oh, yeah? Well, let me refute that. Common Declaration of Benedict XVI with Orthodox Chrysostomos II, June 16, 2007. A common declaration. We assure our faithful of our fervent prayers as pastors in the Church. He says it all the time. And see, we read his speeches almost as much or more than anyone. Okay, Brother Michael's read the last 40 years of the Vatican newspaper. He says it all the time. Okay, he did another declaration with the Schismatic Patriarch Bartholomew, November 30th, 2006. And he speaks of our responsibility as pastors in the Church of Christ. He praises their church. He says he loves their church. John Paul II gave a donation to their church. He says that the excommunications against them no longer apply. Okay, he talks about how they have an important ministry, okay, how they were great ministers. He does it all the time. He absolutely believes they're in the church, and that's why he's a heretic.
He definitely believes that they hold elements of the Catholic faith as before the schism as they did. But I wouldn't disagree with. I suppose I'd have to agree. Some of the stuff that a few of the popes that you label as anti-popes have done is definitely not everything's acceptable. I wouldn't agree with everything, but I would say I'd say just as a council that convened in Acts, and just as Isaiah shows us. In context, I believe Peter and his successors hold the keys to the church that God left us, and therefore their decisions, those that I would view as dogmatic, should be respected by the faithful. And I believe, whereas we can question some of their actions, I think we should also look deeper into some of their decisions instead of labeling them as heresy. Once more, I'll go right back to Titus 3:10. If an individual is recognizing that what they're doing is heresy, is heretical, if they're in full knowledge of the fact that they're being heretical and they persist in it, absolutely they would be heretical. They'd be a heretic. But once again, I don't think you're able to follow the biblical mandate and show that any of them are heretics, as in the biblical usage of the term heretic.
One fact, Benedict XVI admits that the teaching of Vatican II on religious liberty was a, quote, correction, a departure, an overturning of the teaching of Pope Pius IX in the Syllabus of Errors.